In the vast expanse of space, where stars twinkled like diamonds scattered across an endless black canvas, there existed a being unlike any other. Her name was Lyra, and she had lived for millennia, longer than most civilizations could even dream of enduring. She wasn't human. Her kind hailed from a distant galaxy far beyond what humans called the Milky Way. They were known as the Valens, immortal beings who thrived on energy harvested from dying suns. Lyra had seen countless worlds rise and fall. She'd watched empires crumble into dust while new ones sprang forth like fragile shoots after a storm. Humanity, however, always intrigued her. Their fleeting lives burned so brightly with passion, creativity, and chaos that it both fascinated and repulsed her. How could such fragile creatures create such beauty in their short existence? And yet, how could they destroy so much without thought? She first encountered Earth centuries ago, when humanity was still clawing its way out of the darkness of ignorance. Back then, she despised them. To her, humans were reckless, greedy, and destructive, a blight upon the universe. But over time, something changed within her. Perhaps it was their resilience, or maybe their capacity to love despite knowing death awaited them all. Whatever it was, Lyra found herself drawn back to Earth again and again, watching silently from the shadows. One day, during one of her visits, she met him, a man named Owen. He was nothing extraordinary by human standards. A farmer's son turned engineer, he spent his days tinkering with machines meant to make life easier for those around him. Yet there was something about Owen that set him apart. Maybe it was the way he smiled at strangers, the warmth in his voice when he spoke of his dreams, or the quiet determination in his eyes whenever he faced failure. At first, Lyra avoided him. Humans were beneath her notice, she told herself. But curiosity gnawed at her. One night, under the silver glow of Earth's moon, she revealed herself to him, not in her true form but disguised as a woman with pale skin and shimmering hair that seemed to catch the light no matter where she stood. Owen didn't scream or run. Instead, he looked at her with wonder, not fear. "Are you real?" he asked softly, reaching out hesitantly as if afraid she might vanish. "I am," Lyra replied, her voice melodic yet distant. "But I shouldn't be here." Their meeting marked the beginning of something neither of them could have foreseen. Over weeks, then months, they grew closer. Owen shared stories of his childhood, his struggles, and his hopes for the future. In turn, Lyra listened intently, absorbing every word like a sponge. For the first time in her eternal life, she felt connected. But connection came with consequences. As days turned into years, Lyra began to feel things she hadn't experienced before, emotions that tugged at the edges of her immortality. Love, longing, vulnerability. These were foreign concepts to her, but they burrowed deep into her consciousness, refusing to let go. And then, one fateful evening, Owen said something that shook her to her core. "Do you ever think about having a family?" he asked casually, staring up at the stars from the porch of his small home. Lyra froze. Family? The very idea was absurd. Immortals did not procreate, they simply existed. Yet, as she gazed at Owen's hopeful expression, a seed planted itself in her mind. Could she give up her eternity for this man? For the chance to experience what it meant to truly live? That question haunted her long after she left Earth, retreating to the solitude of the cosmos. For centuries she wrestled with her thoughts, torn between the life she knew and the life she yearned for. Little did she know, the decision she would eventually make would alter not only her destiny but also the fate of two species. Lyra drifted through the cold vastness of space, her mind a storm of conflicting emotions. She had always prided herself on her detachment, her ability to observe without interference. Yet now, she found herself unable to shake the image of Owen's hopeful face, or the strange warmth that spread through her chest whenever she thought of him. For centuries, Lyra had watched civilizations rise and fall, never allowing herself to become entangled in their fleeting lives. To do so would be foolish, she reasoned. Mortals burn brightly but briefly, leaving behind only ashes. And yet, here she was, haunted by the memory of one man who dared to dream of something more with her. She tried to reason with herself. What Owen offered, a life together, perhaps even children, was impossible. Her kind did not age, did not weaken, did not die. How could she bear witness to his inevitable decline? How could she watch as time stripped away his vitality, leaving her alone once again? But there was another truth gnawing at her, one she could no longer ignore. If she stayed immortal, if she continued to drift through eternity untethered, what purpose would she have? Watching worlds crumble and rebuild held little meaning anymore. The universe stretched endlessly before her, empty and indifferent. Could it hurt to try, to step into the fragile, beautiful chaos of humanity for just a little while? The thought terrified her. Immortality was not merely a gift, it was a prison. Giving it up meant surrendering everything she had ever known. It meant embracing mortality, vulnerability, and loss. But wasn't that what made human lives so precious? Their fragility gave weight to every moment, every choice, every connection. As these thoughts swirled within her, Lyra returned to Earth. She didn't announce her arrival. Instead, she lingered unseen, watching Owen from afar. He had aged since their last meeting, though not drastically. Lines creased the corners of his eyes, and streaks of gray threaded through his dark hair. Still, his spirit remained unchanged. He worked tirelessly in his workshop, crafting inventions designed to improve the lives of others. At night, he gazed at the stars, often whispering words too soft for anyone else to hear. One evening, Lyra finally revealed herself. She appeared suddenly on the edge of his field, bathed in moonlight. Owen froze mid-step, his tools clattering to the ground. For a moment neither spoke. Then, slowly, a smile spread across his face. "You came back," he said, his voice trembling with disbelief. Lyra nodded, stepping closer. "I did." Owen studied her, searching for something in her expression. "Why?" "I don't know," she admitted, lowering her gaze. "Perhaps because I couldn't stay away." He chuckled softly, shaking his head. "You're full of mysteries, aren't you?" Lyra hesitated, then asked the question that had plagued her since their first meeting. "Do you still think about having a family?" Owen's smile faltered, replaced by a look of quiet longing. "Every day," he confessed. "But I never thought someone like me could hope for such a thing, not with someone like you." "What does that mean?" Lyra pressed. "Someone like me? A being who doesn't belong here," Owen replied gently. "Someone whose very existence defies everything I understand about life." His words stung, though they were spoken without malice. Lyra turned away, staring out at the rolling fields bathed in silver light. "You're right," she murmured. "I don't belong here. Not truly. But maybe you could," Owen said, moving to stand beside her. "If you wanted to." Lyra felt a pang in her chest. His optimism was infuriating and intoxicating. "It's not that simple," she said sharply. "Even if I wanted to stay, there are things you don't understand. Things about me. About my kind. Then tell me," Owen urged. "Help me understand." She sighed, torn between frustration and admiration. Finally, she relented. "My people are immortal. We don't age, we don't die, not unless we choose to. Our lives span eons, watching as stars are born and fade into nothingness. Humans, your lives are fleeting. A blink compared to ours." Owen nodded, absorbing her words. "And you think that makes us incompatible?" "It's not just that," Lyra continued, her voice growing softer. "If I were to give up my immortality, if I chose this life, it would mean accepting everything that comes with it. Aging. Sickness. Death. And worse, it would mean watching you grow old while I remain unchanged. Or worse still, choosing to age alongside you and knowing how it will end." Owen reached out, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Life isn't measured by its length, Lyra. It's measured by what we do with the time we have. By the connections we make, the love we share. Isn't that worth risking everything for?" His words struck a chord deep within her. Tears welled in her eyes, though she quickly blinked them away. "You speak as though it's easy," she whispered. "It's not," Owen admitted. "But nothing worth having ever is." For days they talked. Lyra shared stories of her travels, of the wonders and horrors she had witnessed across the cosmos. In turn, Owen spoke of his dreams, his fears, and the small joys that made life meaningful to him. Slowly, Lyra began to see the world through his eyes, not as a fleeting spark destined to burn out, but as a tapestry woven from countless moments, each one precious in its own right. And then, one night beneath a sky ablaze with stars, Owen asked the question that would change everything. "Would you consider it?" he said quietly. "Giving up your immortality, for us?" Lyra stared at him, her heart pounding. She knew the answer even before she spoke it. "Yes," she said, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside her. "I would." Relief and joy lit up Owen's face, but Lyra felt only trepidation. She had made her choice, but the path ahead was fraught with uncertainty. Becoming mortal was no simple task. It required rituals ancient even among her people, ceremonies that tested both body and soul. Failure meant annihilation, a fate far worse than eternal loneliness. Yet, as she looked into Owen's eyes, she realized she didn't care. For the first time in her endless existence, she had found something worth sacrificing everything for. The decision had been made, but the journey ahead was anything but simple. Lyra knew that giving up her immortality required more than a mere declaration. It demanded an act of profound transformation, one rooted in the ancient traditions of her people. The ritual she sought was forbidden among the Valens, a relic of their past deemed too dangerous to practice openly. To undertake it meant risking not only her eternal existence, but also drawing the ire of her kind. For days after her conversation with Owen, Lyra disappeared into the cosmos once more, seeking guidance from the few elders who still remembered the old ways. These beings, ancient even by Valen standards, resided on remote asteroids orbiting dying stars, places where time itself seemed to falter. They were guardians of secrets long forgotten, keepers of knowledge that could either save or destroy those who dared to wield it. When Lyra finally found them, they greeted her with suspicion. "Why have you come?" asked Kale, the eldest among them, his voice like the groan of shifting tectonic plates. His form shimmered faintly, a sign of his immense age and power. "I seek the ritual of becoming," Lyra replied, her tone unwavering despite the weight of their stares. "I wish to surrender my immortality." Kale's luminous eyes narrowed. "Do you understand what you are asking? Immortality is not merely a state of being, it is the essence of who we are. To cast it aside is to sever yourself from your very nature." "I understand," Lyra said firmly. "But I cannot continue as I am. I have seen too much, lived too long. My heart yearns for something more, for connection, for purpose. And for love." The elders exchanged glances, their expressions unreadable. Finally, Kale spoke again. "Love has always been humanity's greatest strength, and its greatest weakness. Are you certain this human emotion is worth such a sacrifice?" Lyra hesitated, then nodded. "Yes. Without it, I am nothing." Kale sighed, a sound like the fading light of a supernova. "Very well. But know this, the ritual of becoming is perilous. It will strip away your essence, leaving you vulnerable in ways you cannot imagine. Should you fail, you will cease to exist entirely." "I accept the risk," Lyra said, her resolve unshaken. Thus began her preparation for the ritual. The elders guided her through meditation and introspection, forcing her to confront the depths of her own soul. She relived memories of her countless lifetimes, moments of triumph and despair, joy and sorrow. Each memory carried a piece of her identity, fragments she would soon leave behind. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Owen waited anxiously. Though Lyra had promised to return, he couldn't shake the fear that she might change her mind, or worse, vanish forever. He threw himself into his work, building machines and tools to distract himself from the gnawing uncertainty. Yet, every night he gazed at the stars, hoping to catch a glimpse of her radiant form. Weeks passed before Lyra reappeared. When she did, she looked different, not physically, but in the way she carried herself. There was a heaviness to her presence, a sense of finality. Owen rushed to meet her, relief washing over him. "You came back," he said, pulling her into an embrace. For now, Lyra replied, her voice tinged with sadness. But there is much I must tell you. They sat together under the same silver moonlight that had illuminated their first meeting. Lyra explained the ritual, the risks involved, and the irreversible nature of her choice. Owen listened silently, his expression growing darker with each word. Are you sure about this? He asked when she finished. You don't have to do this for me. It's not just for you, Lyra said softly. It's for me, too. I've spent eternity watching life pass me by, untouched and unchanged. Now I want to truly live, even if it means facing death someday. Owen reached out, taking her hand in his. Then I'll be with you every step of the way. The day of the ritual arrived sooner than either of them expected. Under the watchful eyes of the elders, Lyra stood at the center of a crystalline chamber deep within an asteroid's core. The air hummed with energy, charged by the remnants of dying stars. Symbols etched into the walls glowed faintly, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. Owen was allowed to witness the ceremony, though he could not intervene. He watched helplessly as Lyra knelt, her hands pressed against the cold floor. Above her, a swirling vortex of light formed, crackling with raw power. It was the essence of her immortality, the force that sustained her across millennia. Release your hold, Kale commanded, his voice echoing through the chamber. Let go of what binds you to eternity. Lyra closed her eyes, focusing on the warmth spreading through her body. Slowly, she began to feel it slipping away, the endless flow of energy that had fueled her existence. Panic clawed at her chest, urging her to stop, to cling to what she had always known. But she pushed through the fear, remembering Owen's smile, his laughter, the way he had made her feel alive for the first time. As the last vestiges of her immortality dissolved into the vortex, pain surged through her body. It felt as though she were being torn apart, atom by atom. Her vision blurred, and her breath came in ragged gasps. Just when she thought she couldn't endure another moment, the pain subsided, replaced by an unfamiliar sensation, fragility. She opened her eyes, trembling. The elders regarded her with solemn expressions, their approval evident but tempered by sorrow. Lyra was no longer one of them. She was mortal now, bound by the same limitations as any human. Owen rushed to her side, cradling her in his arms. You did it, he whispered, tears streaming down his face. Lyra managed a weak smile. We did it. Though the ritual was complete, the true test lay ahead. Mortality brought challenges Lyra had never faced: hunger, exhaustion, illness. Every sensation was new, overwhelming. Yet, amidst the struggles, she found solace in Owen's unwavering support. Together, they navigated this brave new world, learning to cherish each fleeting moment. But unknown to them, the consequences of Lyra's choice extended far beyond her personal transformation. The ritual of becoming had sent ripples through the fabric of reality, alerting forces both ancient and malevolent. Forces that viewed her actions as a threat to the natural order. And so, as Lyra embraced her newfound humanity, shadows stirred in the distant reaches of the galaxy, setting into motion events that would test her courage, and her love, for Owen in ways either of them could foresee. The days following the ritual were a blur of discovery for Lyra. Everything about her mortal existence felt foreign yet exhilarating. She marveled at sensations she had once taken for granted: the warmth of sunlight on her skin, the taste of food, the ache of muscles after physical exertion. Every moment was vivid, intense, and fleeting, a stark contrast to the endless monotony of her immortal life. Owen guided her patiently, teaching her how to navigate this fragile new reality. He showed her how to cook meals over a fire, how to tend to crops in his fields, and even how to laugh when something went wrong. For the first time, Lyra experienced the simple joys of human life, the kind of happiness that came not from grand achievements but from small, shared moments. Yet, despite the beauty of their newfound life together, a sense of unease lingered beneath the surface. Lyra often woke in the middle of the night, her heart racing as though pursued by unseen forces. At first, she dismissed these feelings as remnants of her transformation, a side effect of shedding her immortality. But as the weeks passed, the unease grew stronger, more insistent. One evening, as they sat together under a starlit sky, Owen noticed her distant expression. "What's wrong?" he asked gently. Lyra hesitated before answering. "I don't know," she admitted. "It's like something is watching us. Something ancient." Owen frowned, scanning the horizon. "Do you think it has something to do with the ritual?" "Perhaps," Lyra said, her voice tinged with worry. "The elders warned me that giving up my immortality might have consequences beyond what I could foresee. I thought they meant personal struggles, learning to live as a mortal. But now—" She trailed off, unable to articulate the weight of her fears. Before Owen could respond, a sudden gust of wind swept across the field, carrying with it an unnatural chill. The hairs on the back of Lyra's neck stood on end as she turned toward the source. In the distance, a shadow moved against the treeline, darker than the night itself. "Did you see that?" she whispered, gripping Owen's arm. He squinted into the darkness. "See what?" "There's nothing there." But Lyra knew better. Her instincts screamed that they were no longer alone. Rising to her feet, she stepped cautiously forward, her eyes fixed on the trees. As she approached, the shadow shifted again, resolving into a figure cloaked in darkness. Its presence radiated malice, a palpable force that made her stomach churn. "Who are you?" Lyra demanded, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her veins. The figure chuckled, a sound like grinding stone. "You dare to defy the natural order?" it rasped, its voice echoing unnaturally. "You, who were born eternal, now choose mortality. Do you realize what you have unleashed?" Owen joined Lyra's side, his hand instinctively reaching for the knife tucked into his belt. "Leave us alone," he said firmly, though his voice betrayed a hint of uncertainty. The shadowy figure ignored him, focusing instead on Lyra. "You may have severed your ties to eternity, but the threads of destiny cannot be so easily unraveled. Your choice threatens the balance between life and death, creation and destruction. And for that you must pay." With those words, the figure raised a gauntlet hand, and the ground beneath them began to tremble. Roots erupted from the soil, twisting and writhing like serpents. The air crackled with energy, and the stars above seemed to dim as if recoiling from the malevolent force. Lyra reacted quickly, pulling Owen back just as one of the roots lashed out, narrowly missing them. "We need to get out of here!" she shouted, her mind racing. They ran, dodging the chaotic barrage of nature gone mad. Behind them, the shadow followed, its laughter echoing through the night. It was relentless, unhindered by obstacles or terrain. No matter how fast they moved, it remained close behind, its power growing stronger with each passing second. Finally, they reached the edge of the field, where Owen's workshop stood. Bursting inside, Owen slammed the door shut and barricaded it with whatever he could find. Breathing heavily, he turned to Lyra. "What the hell was that thing?" "I don't know," Lyra replied, her face pale. "But it's not human. Whatever it is, it knows about the ritual, and it doesn't approve." As if on cue, the walls of the workshop shuddered violently. Outside, the shadow loomed larger, its form distorting the light spilling from the windows. The temperature dropped sharply, and frost began creeping along the glass panes. "We can't stay here," Owen said urgently. "If we don't find a way to fight it, it'll tear this place apart, and us with it." Lyra nodded, her mind working furiously. "There might be a way," she murmured. "When I underwent the ritual, the elders spoke of a safeguard, a relic tied to my transformation. If we can retrieve it, it might give us a chance." "Where is it?" Owen asked. "In the asteroid where the ritual took place," Lyra replied grimly. "But getting there won't be easy. That thing will follow us every step of the way." Owen grabbed her hand, determination hardening his features. "Then we'll deal with it together. We've faced impossible odds before. This is no different." Though doubt gnawed at her, Lyra found comfort in his resolve. Together, they devised a plan. Using materials from Owen's workshop, they constructed makeshift tools designed to disrupt the shadow's connection to the environment. Then, under cover of darkness, they slipped out of the workshop and began their journey toward the nearest spaceport. The trip was fraught with danger. The shadow pursued them relentlessly, manifesting in increasingly terrifying ways, distorting gravity, summoning storms, and warping the landscape around them. Each encounter left them battered and exhausted, but they pressed on, driven by desperation and hope. At last, they reached the spaceport, commandeering a small vessel bound for the asteroid field. As the ship ascended into orbit, Lyra allowed herself a brief moment of relief. But she knew their battle was far from over. The shadow would not stop until it had claimed its prize, or destroyed them both. And somewhere deep within the void, ancient forces stirred, drawn to the disturbance caused by Lyra's defiance. Forces that viewed her actions not merely as a threat but as an opportunity, a chance to reshape the universe according to their own designs. As the stars stretched ahead of them, Lyra clutched Owen's hand tightly, drawing strength from his unwavering support. Whatever lay ahead, she vowed to face it head-on, for him, for their future, and for the fragile, beautiful gift of mortality she had chosen to embrace. The journey to the asteroid field was a tense and silent one. Lyra sat beside Owen in the cramped cockpit of their stolen vessel, her eyes fixed on the swirling void outside the window. The shadow had not followed them into space, at least, not visibly, but she could still feel its presence lingering at the edges of her consciousness, a dark whisper that refused to fade. Owen piloted the ship with steady hands, though his knuckles were white from gripping the controls. "Do you think it's waiting for us?" he asked quietly, breaking the silence. Lyra shook her head, though uncertainty clouded her thoughts. "I don't know. But we can't afford to slow down. Every second counts." They reached the asteroid field hours later, navigating through jagged rocks that glimmered faintly in the light of distant stars. The asteroid housing the ritual of becoming loomed ahead, a massive, crystalline structure floating amidst the debris like a shard of broken glass. Its surface shimmered with an ethereal glow, pulsing faintly as if alive. As they landed, Lyra felt a strange pull toward the relic, a magnetic force tugging at her very essence. She stepped onto the asteroid's surface, her boots crunching against the fine dust coating the ground. Owen followed close behind, scanning their surroundings warily. "This place gives me the creeps," he muttered, clutching a makeshift weapon he'd fashioned during their flight. "You're not wrong," Lyra replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's ancient, older than anything I've ever encountered." Guided by instinct, she led him deeper into the asteroid's core, where the chamber of the ritual lay hidden. The walls glowed softly with the same symbols she remembered from the ceremony, their light casting eerie shadows across the cavernous space. At the center stood a pedestal, upon which rested a small, unassuming object, a fragment of crystal no larger than her palm. "That's it?" Owen asked, raising an eyebrow. "That's the relic? It may look insignificant," Lyra said, approaching cautiously, "but it holds immense power. It's tied to my transformation. It might be our only defense against the shadow." Before she could touch it, the air around them shifted. A low hum filled the chamber, growing louder with each passing second. Shadows began to seep from the cracks in the walls, coalescing into the familiar form of their pursuer. This time, however, it was different. Larger. More menacing. "You cannot escape destiny," the shadow rasped, its voice reverberating through the chamber. "Your defiance has disrupted the balance. For that, there will be consequences." Owen stepped forward, brandishing his weapon. "You want her? You'll have to go through me first." The shadow laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Foolish mortal! Your courage is admirable but futile." Lyra placed a hand on Owen's arm, pulling him back. "Don't," she warned. "This isn't something you can fight directly." Turning her attention to the shadow, she straightened her posture, meeting its glowing eyes with unwavering resolve. "If you seek balance, then come closer. Let me show you what I'm willing to do to protect what I've chosen." With that, she reached out and grasped the crystal fragment. The moment her fingers closed around it, a surge of energy coursed through her body, lighting up the chamber in a brilliant flash. The symbols on the walls flared to life, forming intricate patterns that danced across the ceiling. The shadow recoiled, its form flickering as if destabilized. "What have you done?" it snarled, its voice tinged with anger and fear. I've claimed my choice, Lyra declared, her voice resonating with newfound strength. This relic is part of me now, a piece of my immortality transformed into something greater. You cannot take it from me without destroying yourself. The shadow hesitated, its movements jerky and uncertain. For the first time, doubt seemed to creep into its malevolent aura. You are meddling with forces beyond comprehension, it hissed. Mark my words, this will not end here. And with that, it dissolved into nothingness, leaving behind an oppressive silence. Owen exhaled sharply, lowering his weapon. Did we win? For now, Lyra replied, her grip tightening around the crystal. But it knows we're a threat. And it won't stop until it eliminates us, or restores the balance its way. What does that mean? Owen asked, concern etched across his face. It means we need allies, Lyra said firmly. The elders who guided me through the ritual, they warned me of the risks. If anyone understands the scope of what we're facing, it's them. Without wasting another moment, they returned to the ship and set course for the remote asteroid where the elders resided. Along the way, Lyra studied the crystal fragment, marveling at the warmth it radiated. It wasn't just a relic, it was a connection to her past, a reminder of the sacrifices she had made. Yet, it also represented hope, proof that her decision to embrace mortality had meaning. When they arrived, the elders greeted them with somber expressions. Kale, the eldest among them, regarded Lyra with a mixture of pride and sorrow. You have awakened forces long dormant, he said gravely. Forces that view your existence as an aberration. I didn't ask for this, Lyra countered. All I wanted was to live, to love, to grow old, to experience life as mortals do. And yet your actions ripple outward, Kale replied. By choosing mortality, you have challenged the natural order. The shadow seeks to restore balance, but at great cost. Then help us, Owen interjected, stepping forward. We can't fight this alone. The elders exchanged glances, their luminous forms shimmering faintly. Finally, Kale nodded. Very well. We will aid you, but know this. The path ahead will test your strength, your courage, and your bond. Should you falter, all will be lost. With the elders' guidance, Lyra and Owen prepared for the battle to come. They learned of ancient wards capable of weakening the shadow, rituals designed to fortify their defenses, and strategies to exploit its vulnerabilities. Each lesson brought clarity and dread. The shadow was no mere entity. It was a manifestation of cosmic forces, a guardian of the universe's equilibrium. As they trained, Lyra found herself reflecting on everything she had sacrificed, and everything she had gained. Her immortality had been a gift, but it had also been a prison. Mortality, though fragile, gave her purpose. It allowed her to love deeply, to dream boldly, to cherish every fleeting moment. One evening, as they rested beneath the dim light of a dying star, Owen took her hand in his. Are you scared? He asked softly. Yes, Lyra admitted. But not for myself. For you, for us. I chose this life because of you. If anything happens to you... Owen silenced her with a kiss. We'll face it together, he said firmly. No matter what comes, we'll find a way. Lyra smiled, feeling a renewed sense of determination. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she knew she wouldn't face them alone. Together they would fight, not just for survival, but for the future they had chosen to build. And so, armed with knowledge, courage, and love, they prepared to confront the shadow once more. Little did they know, their actions would shape not only their destinies but the fate of two worlds, and perhaps the entire cosmos. The elders' guidance proved invaluable, but it also revealed the true scale of the threat they faced. The shadow was not merely a singular entity. It was a fragment of an ancient cosmic force known as Arinder, a being that existed to maintain the delicate balance between life and death, creation and destruction. To challenge Arinder was to defy the very fabric of existence. Armed with knowledge, Lyra and Owen devised a plan. Using the crystal relic and the wards crafted by the elders, they would create a containment field capable of trapping the shadow long enough to sever its connection to Arinder. It was a risky gambit. If they failed, the backlash could unravel reality itself. But failure wasn't an option, not when their love, their lives, and the future of countless others hung in the balance. Their preparations took days, each moment filled with tension and urgency. Lyra poured her newfound mortal strength into mastering the relics and rituals, while Owen worked tirelessly to adapt human technology to amplify their defenses. Together, they forged a bond stronger than either had imagined possible, a partnership born of trust, sacrifice, and shared purpose. Finally, the day arrived. Guided by the Elder's calculations, they traveled to a desolate moon orbiting a dying star, the perfect place for their final confrontation. The landscape was barren, its surface cracked and scarred, mirroring the chaos brewing within them. As they set up their defenses, the air grew heavy, charged with an unnatural energy. "It's coming," Lyra whispered, her hand tightening around the crystal relic. She could feel it now, a presence looming on the horizon, darker than the void of space. Owen stood beside her, his makeshift weapon ready. "We've got this," he said, though his voice betrayed a hint of fear. Together. The shadow materialized suddenly, its form towering over them like a storm cloud given life. Its glowing eyes fixed on Lyra, burning with fury and disdain. "You persist," it rasped, its voice shaking the ground beneath their feet. "Do you truly believe your defiance will prevail?" "We're not defying anything," Lyra replied, her voice steady despite the terror clawing at her chest. "We're fighting for balance, not yours, but ours. For the right to live, to love, to choose our own paths." The shadow laughed, a sound like thunder rolling across the wasteland. "Balance cannot be chosen. It must be enforced." With that, it struck. Waves of dark energy surged toward them, warping the environment and shattering the rocky terrain. Lyra raised the crystal relic, channeling its power to erect a shimmering barrier just in time to block the assault. The impact sent shockwaves rippling through the air, knocking Owen off his feet. "Stay focused!" Lyra shouted, straining against the overwhelming force. Her body screamed in protest, unused to such exertion. Mortality weighed heavily upon her, every breath a reminder of her fragility. Owen scrambled back to his position, firing bursts of energy from his modified weapon. Though the shots barely grazed the shadow, they served to distract it momentarily, giving Lyra precious seconds to reinforce the barrier. "You can't keep this up forever," the shadow taunted, its form shifting and expanding. "Your mortality is your weakness." "No," Lyra countered, gritting her teeth. "It's my strength." Summoning every ounce of determination, she unleashed a surge of energy from the crystal, flooding the battlefield with blinding light. The shadow recoiled, its form flickering erratically. Seizing the opportunity, Owen activated the containment field, encasing the shadow in a lattice of glowing runes. For a brief moment, victory seemed within reach. But the shadow wasn't finished. With a deafening roar, it began to break free, its power overwhelming the fragile wards. "We need more time!" Owen yelled, frantically adjusting the controls. "There isn't any!" Lyra shot back, panic creeping into her voice. Desperation fueled her next move. Stepping forward, she plunged the crystal relic directly into the heart of the containment field. The reaction was instantaneous. A massive explosion of light erupted, engulfing the battlefield in a radiant inferno. Lyra felt herself being pulled apart, her essence merging with the relic's energy. Pain and euphoria coursed through her simultaneously as she became one with the forces she sought to control. "Lyra, no!" Owen cried, reaching out futilely. Through the chaos, Lyra's voice echoed in his mind. "This is my choice, Owen. My gift, to protect what we've built." As the light faded, the shadow was gone, its connection to Arinder severed. The moon fell silent, save for the soft hum of residual energy lingering in the air. Owen collapsed to his knees, staring at the spot where Lyra had stood moments before. But then, amidst the stillness, a faint glow appeared. The crystal relic hovered gently, pulsating with warmth. And from its light emerged Lyra, her form translucent yet unmistakably alive. "What happened?" Owen stammered, tears streaming down his face. "I anchored myself to the relic," Lyra explained, her voice tinged with awe. It's part of me now, just as I'm part of it. I'm neither fully mortal nor immortal anymore. I exist somewhere in between. Owen embraced her, holding her tightly as if afraid she might vanish again. Does this mean it's over? For now, Lyra replied softly. Irinder has been appeased, for the moment. But the universe is vast, and there will always be forces seeking to restore balance. We'll have to remain vigilant. As they stood together under the dim glow of the dying star, a sense of peace settled over them. They had faced the impossible and emerged victorious, not because they were invincible, but because they had chosen to fight for something greater than themselves. In the weeks that followed, Lyra and Owen returned to Earth, their bond stronger than ever. Though Lyra's transformation left her changed, she found joy in the simple pleasures of life, the laughter of children playing in the fields, the warmth of sunlight on her skin, the quiet comfort of Owen's embrace. And as they looked to the future, they knew their journey was far from over. The cosmos held mysteries yet to be uncovered, challenges yet to be faced. But whatever came their way, they would face it together, as equals, as partners, and as a family. For in choosing mortality, Lyra had discovered eternity. Not the endless, unchanging kind she had once known, but something far more profound, a legacy of love, courage, and hope that would endure long after their names were forgotten.